Here we have a 2014 Ford Transit Connect. It's got roughly 57,000 miles on the clock, and it's the 1.6 diesel engine, the TDCi Duratorque. So today we're going to be doing an oil and filter change on this Transit. So I'm going to need the bonnet open, and as with all cars I do oil and filter changes on, I always like to just take the cap off and pull the dipstick up a little bit to allow air back into the engine as the oil's draining out. Just helps it drain a bit smoother. First off though, I think we will tackle the oil filter, which is located down under here. So to access the oil filter, which is located right down here, a bit difficult to see, I'm going to remove this air box. It's not actually too bad to remove, it just gives you a lot more space. So I'm going to undo this Jubilee clip here first. That should be loose enough. Then we've got a multi-plug here, a little red tab that should pop up. Then push that plug in. Got a little trim clip tool, which is quite handy. Just prise that out of there. I've also got a vacuum pipe there, which I might be able to ease off with this as well. Yep. And I've got a rubber strap here, which just unhooks. And then, I mean, this is, that's the hose off. The bottom of this air box has just got some pegs on it, like a ball and socket arrangement. So it should just push in. That's it. You can see there and there, and one there. They just all push in these rubber sockets. So it just gives us a bit more space to access this filter here. Makes it a lot easier. So this is going to be a little bit messy. No matter what you do, there's always going to be a bit of oil dripping down somewhere. Just have to do the best you can to try and catch it. So the nut on the top of that housing is a 27mm. You could use a spanner, but I think it's probably a bit easier with a socket and the extension bar like this. I tend to do the oil filter first, particularly when they're accessed from the top like this, because sometimes you take the cap off and there's residue oil in there which will only drain down once you've taken the oil filter housing off, so it lets the air back into that bit. So before I take the sump plug out, I'll do this, and then any residue will hopefully drain down into the sump and all come out together. That's it. Try and get it out and upright as quick as you can, save it dripping everywhere. Right, I'm just going to lay this on the drainer, let it drain down for a minute, and then we'll transfer it over to the vise and get the new oil filter in. So I've just put it in the vise. It, you know, like a third hand really, makes life a little bit easier. So this oil filter should just pull out. There it goes. One filter, and in the groove here there should be the rubber O-ring seal. That's that. So get your new seal. You should be able to pick up an oil filter under 10 quid at this time of recording anyway. Whoever you use, a local motor factor, or go online, providing you give them your registration number, they should be able to identify the correct parts for your car. Right, I'm just going to go and put this on the oil drainer. I did let this drain down, but there's still a tiny bit in there, so before you push the new oil filter completely home, I've been caught out plenty of times before, get it lined up and just put a bit of rag around there to stop it splashing up and hitting you in the face. I'm not saying that it'll always happen, but on the odd occasion it does. So that's the new filter securely in place. I'll take it back over to the van and we'll pop it in. So as you can see down there, there is a hole for the peg on the filter to locate into. When you're doing these all the time, you kind of get a feel for it and generally pop the filter in the cap, and as you turn it you can feel the peg stop, and that holds it still as you do up the cap and pushes it down into the hole. But it's probably better advice to do it this way round. If you're not doing them all the time, it's definitely safer to push that peg down into the hole. That's it, that's located. And then take the cap and screw it on. Because you can get it wrong doing the other way. Well, there's a chance of getting it wrong the other way and breaking the peg off the filter. And if you do that, when you start the engine, you'll notice that the oil pressure lamp might flicker. It might not go off completely. And that's a good sign that you haven't got the peg located in the hole correctly. So it's probably a little bit safer to do it this way. Now these caps, they usually give a torque figure on the top. It's normally around about 20-25 Newton meters, which isn't much at all. Bearing in mind it's only plastic. I don't think that one's actually got a figure written on there. So yeah, you just got to not go mad really, just give it a little nip. And that'll do. So that's the oil filter back in. I'm just going to get a bit of blue roll, clean bit of blue roll. And I've got some brake cleaner here, which is a brilliant degreaser. Just clean it up as best you can. And I think we're just about ready to pop the airbox back in. That looks like that's come unclipped. So with the airbox, we've got three mounting points to bear in mind. There's one there, the other one's just round here, which you might have to move these cables a bit to get the leg round. And the third one there, and we've got the rubber strap. And obviously on the airbox you've got the pegs sticking down. I think that's it. So we've got some pipes here which clip into that little plastic thing there. Got a vacuum hose, goes on there. I've done that round the wrong way. It comes up and goes in there. The plug which goes on there. And you push that down, that's secured. got the pipe on there, which I'll need to nip up. It's quite a handy little tool for doing the Jubilee clips. You can just use a flat bladed screwdriver, but sometimes it slips. This just comes with a small socket on it, and it's bendy for different angles. And finally this rubber strap, which hooks over a little lug there. That's it, airbox refitted. Next we'll take it up in the air, and no doubt there will be an undershield to remove before we can drain the oil. Okay, so being a van, unfortunately I haven't got the height to put this all the way up, so I'm going to have to crawl around a bit under here. The under tray on these, it's like a felt tray, but it's just Torx 30 bits. So I've got my gun ready to go. So a little bit different to your usual sump plugs. The majority of sump plugs on Fords are 13mm head size bolts. This just has a yellow plastic plug here with a square slot in the middle, which a 3/8 drive bit will fit in. So it should only turn just over a quarter of a turn, 120 degrees it actually says on that plug. So be ready with your drainer, this could get messy. I think that's it. Might need a little bit of levering out. Maybe a little bit more. Oh yeah, there it goes. Oh, I don't do many of these. In fact, it's been quite a long time. So just over a quarter of a turn, and it kind of comes out by itself without any leverage. Right, I'll put the drainer down and we'll let that do its thing for 5 or 6 minutes. So here's our sump plug, bit of a funny looking thing. You can see on there, close 120 degrees. So all it's got on here really that you need to check is this rubber O-ring seal, which looks fine. Can't see any tears or nicks in it. That'll be good to go again. Right, let's have a go at locating this back where it should be. I think that's started to pull itself in now. Yeah, there it goes. You can see it's got these yellow plastic legs that come down, and there's actually a stop there. So we're only going to go as far as that, not any further. I don't want to snap the leg off. And that's it. Which to me doesn't feel very secure, but I haven't had any issues with these before, coming loose or leaking or anything. It's just a slightly different way to doing things that I'm used to. But that's it, that's the plug back in. Dipstick's still up. Just got to make sure this doesn't glug back up and make a mess. It's always handy to have the dipstick out a little bit. So there are quite a few different grades of engine oil on the market, different makes of engine oil, manufacturers. But as long as you give your registration number to whoever supplies your parts, they'll be able to recommend what you need for your particular engine. Now, when I picked this engine oil up, I was told that the capacity was over 6 litres for this little 1.6 engine, which seems a hell of a lot for an engine this size, really. And it was definitely not 6 litres that come out. So I'm going to start with 4 litres, which I know the older Transits with this style of engine, or the older Ford Focuses and C-Maxes, it was definitely around 4 litres. So we're just going to start with 4 litres and see where we go from that. Just top it up in small quantities if it needs more. It's far safer to, you know, start with a little bit less, then work your way up, running it and dipping it until you get as close to the maximum mark as you can. You don't want to put too much in there because that can cause just as much damage as not having enough. So we're going to start with 4 and see what happens. I might have a quick look before I actually run it. Normally you'd expect it to be a little bit high because the engine hasn't been run yet. Oh, look at that. It is only just over the minimum mark. I think I'll put another litre in and before I fire it up and see where we go from there. Right, so I've put another litre in. It's now near the maximum mark on the dipstick, but I still haven't run the engine, so I'm going to fire it up now. They recommend just over 6 litres, so once it's been running for a little while, I expect that level to drop. Right. So you don't need to rev it up at all. I'm just going to sit in here, start it up, let it tick over and make sure the oil warning light goes out. That's it, the light's gone straight out. That sounds good. And that's all it needs, really. The oil light went straight out. We've had it ticking over, so the oil's circulated, filled the galleries, filled up the oil filter. We just leave it for 3 or 4 minutes now to settle and check the level again and see where it's at. So just to recap, I've been told it's meant to hold just over 6 litres. So far we've put in 5 and we've let it tick over. 5 litres of engine oil at this moment in time, you should be able to pick up for around £50. Obviously that varies a lot on what make you have and the different specifications. There's so many about. As you can see, I think it is going to take just over 6. We're halfway now on the dipstick. So all I'm going to do now is keep topping up. I'll probably put half a litre in and then dip it again. I don't need to run it again because all the galleries and the filter are already full. I'll put half a litre in, let it stand for another 4 or 5 minutes, dip it and just keep repeating that process until I'm as close to the maximum mark as possible. Right, so I've topped up several times now. I think you can see that is just below the maximum mark now. So I'm quite happy with it there. As you can imagine, the longer it sits here, it's going to drain down slowly and that will creep up a little bit, so I'm not going to add any more. And that was 6.2 litres, which is, well, it's quite a surprise for me really, an engine, a 1.6 diesel engine to hold that amount. But there we go. So all I need to do now is take it back up in the air and pop the under tray on. I generally do it this way round because, yeah, mistakes happen, and in the past I have put a little bit too much oil in and you need to get back underneath and drop a little bit out. But on this occasion it looks like it's gone to plan. So that about brings it to the end. Sump plug back in, under tray on, oil filters in, done up tight, dipstick and cap are back on, the level I'm happy with. All that leaves now is to, as with most jobs I do, give it a run around the block, bring it back in and make sure there's no leaks. Well, thanks for watching. Hopefully the video's been of some help for you, and if it has, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It will help our channel out no end. Cheers.